chemicals. So there's several parts. There are the glands that I talked about before. There's the brain as a gland, meaning all of the glands that are inside that are creating these chemicals, which are called neurotransmitters, actually. The neurotransmitters do lots of things for you. They provide focus. They allow you to feel satisfied. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, so that means when you do something right and you feel good, you get a reward. That's a chemical in your body. So when you have an imbalance, a doctor suggests another chemical to just add a chemical to get a result. But as we were talking about, some people don't want to be on medication. So brain integration might fit in this place really well. And it fits for my clients who have PTSD, who have emotional swinging. Corey certainly could talk on this subject because she works with people who are adopted, and also families of people who are adopted, right? Or kids who are born with chemical dependencies. Mm-hmm. So brain integration can do that piece. It's really phenomenal when you can set up the brain so that it learns very fast and for the chemicals to be in balance in a way. That is a phenomenon that makes people's lives just completely different, and that's what's called being integrated.
And one of the things that, as kind of like a side effect, if you occasionally need to take medicine, there are certain chemicals that if the body's getting them from an outside source, it kind of gets a little lazy and doesn't want to make it itself, so then you don't always have access to your body's own production levels, which you normally would. So I think that you're really intuitive in that, like, I don't know how much medicine I want to take, because in one of the negative consequences of it, occasionally the body will get really lazy, not give you enough access to the chemicals to make, like the dopamine, the serotonin, the things that make you feel satisfied or happy or stable or just okay.
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, when we balance the limbic system to give out the right chemicals, you're not going to essentially need that chemical or that medicine. So we're not doctors, though, and so we cannot suggest that you go off your medication. Mm-hmm. If you choose to do that, I'll balance you every day if you want and make it really easily, and that's how people sometimes choose to do it. So,
although we don't have clients that come every day.
Well, no, that's not true. Occasionally, I have done work getting people out of psychiatric hospitals, kids who are very chemically dependent, who cannot be in regular society. I actually visit the hospital. I'm buzzed in daily, and actually I show the parents how to do a tiny portion of brain integration, and between the two of us, because we treated him every day, we were able to get him out of that mental institute.
But not long-term. Just
No. After a while, they all go away, and they never send me postcards to tell me what awesome place they're in now. So they just all go away and have great lives. So let's just take a look here. Is everybody familiar with the two parts of the brain? The two halves? So you have two hemispheres, the right brain, the left brain. One thinks about numbers and does basic math. The other side thinks about pictures, does art, and things like that. So the two different sides do kind of two completely different things. And one side controls one side of the body, and the other side controls the other side of the body. So when we think about left-brained people, logic people, you know, they want everything in order. They know all the tiny details. They mark off all of their lists. They can tell you what their filing system looks like. These people are punctual. Mm-hmm. They know how to do those things, right? And then you have the other side, the people who are artistic. They're laid back. In kids, this can be a time issue, like it's either now or not now, but I can't plan into the future. So some interesting things, rhythm is located there. Melody is on the other side with logic. When you're talking about that, math can be on both sides depending on how advanced the math is. Mm-hmm. But the truth is you need both hemispheres to do almost anything, including walking. And the thing that connects the two is called the corpus callosum. It's like a bridge. So you have all the logic over here and the gestalt over here, which is what we call the artistic side. And they fuse at this place called the corpus callosum. Every single point on the right is connected to every single point on the left through hundreds of millions of fibers in this thing called the corpus callosum. So that's what allows me to walk. It's what allows me to sing a song with a rhythm. So really we need both sides to be open and them to be talking completely if we want to be successful in all the different things in life. The corpus callosum looks like this. it's really an interesting shape because it has to connect all the different parts. On the outside up here is actually gray matter, and that's what does your thinking. And on the inside is this white matter that connects it. Anyway, brains are interesting.
I like to say, because I'm a concrete thinker, that the corpus callosum is like the superhighway.
Yeah.
And sometimes one side of the brain doesn't have access to the superhighway. So you have the answer, but it's just so long. Kids that have ADHD or other difficulties, sometimes they're always the last ones with their hands out because it took them so long. Now, normally the answer is correct, but it seems like, oh, they're not very bright, when truthfully, they're working twice or 3 times as hard as the other kid to come up with the same answer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So here we have a thing called the behavioral checklist. It's right in this folder.
Can we handle it?
Sure. Thanks, Cory. Go ahead.
Great, thank you.
So the behavioral checklist is on the left side of that folder. You would fill this out if you came in for brain integration. And what it is a list of many, many, many symptoms that people have all the time. And these are the low fruit on the tree. These are the things that the brain integration practitioner can just completely change. So we all know these people, and we all are some of these people. An accident-prone person, somebody with anxiety and nervousness, that's literally the second one there. I think that might be at the end of your paperwork. Yes, the very last page. Yeah.
Oh, you have it. Oh, good. Okay.
People, no.
Yes, you can look at your same one that you checked off.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh. Okay.
So difficulty concentrating is here. I think all adults say this to me, like, I can't concentrate long enough to finish this thing. I can't concentrate long enough to make my dreams a reality in some sense. I can't concentrate long enough to put my ducks in a row, to make the salads so that I'm eating healthy. I can't concentrate long enough to kind of like finish these things, finish projects, and make them complete in my life. That's just one of the millions of things we could do. Difficulty with math, difficulty with time. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say another way to say that is to follow through.
Yeah.
People have great intentions, and you could start something and have every great intention to, start a new exercise routine or do a new service project for someone or volunteer at some wonderful community service project, but you just don't follow through.
Yeah.
And it's not for a lack of intent, just that you get sidetracked.
Right. So really what happens here is information gets lost over the corpus callosum. So the parts of the brain are not working correctly, the bridge is not working correctly, and information literally dissipates. It's like you have a river and you put a big block in the middle. Then the river's got to go around the block. Say that's the stress about work. Then you put in a block that's the stress about having anxiety and not sleeping in the night. Then you put in a block that's stress about your family because you're worried about someone. Then you put in a block for a concussion that you had, so you can't think as quickly. Eventually, that stream will not run. And that's the way it is with information processing. You just literally lose it. You say, I had steam up to this point, and then I don't know, it's just dissipated. Sometimes with advanced kids, you literally ask them a question, and they won't answer for quite some time. And that's, you're basically watching the information just leave. So that behavioral checklist lists just a bunch of the different things that we can do as MIB practitioners, and these symptoms just fall away. So this whole thing was put together by Susan McCrossan. Sometimes people ask me, how in the world did this happen? What is it? And this is the lady who put it together. I learned it from Susan. And what she studied was how to put the brain parts together with the acupressure meridian system. So the same point where you would, this work has been copyrighted for about 20 years. But the history of it is very long. We have the meridian system with a 3,000-year history. We have this neuro-brain science, which has really been developed in the last 100 years. And putting them together is a type of kinesiology. So just where you would put a needle, I put my finger, and to make the changes, I calm the nervous system using the frontal occipital hold. You can see this online or on TV. It basically calms down the nervous system. If you see a child or an adult freaking out, you can hold their head like this, or you can hold your own head, and it will calm your nervous system.
Really?
Yes, really. So, and this is well documented online. You can see it everywhere online. It's called frontal occipital hold. Frontal occipital meaning this area of the back of the neck.
And you see
What's it
people
called again?
just
Frontal occipital.
FOH.
FOH
Okay.
is what people call it.
And you can see people intuitively, like when they are stressed or upset or need to think about something, a lot of times they'll do this anyway. It's just
Yeah.
an intuitive, like, oh my
What?
goodness.
Have you seen someone do that? Oh my gosh, I have to do my
Look up the
taxes.
thinker?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what he's essentially doing is bringing blood flow to this frontal cortex that does that thinking. You've seen people do that. So when I hold both sides, that's going to calm the nervous system. Brain integration is a highly developed system for calming the nervous system around all of these things. So learning, math, doing my taxes, being an adult, my glands out of balance. So basically a brain integration practitioner balances these things and then it works correctly. This is not an ongoing therapy. Once you have it done, you don't usually come back. Doesn't that sound strange?
No.
She needed a reboot. Like we had a massive house fire. So I had been brain integrated, but then I thought, maybe I need a reboot. Right? And so it was very specific, just that whatever issues or attachments I had to that experience, it was just, in and out for 20 minutes and I was done.
Oh.
Very good. So that's how Susan did that. So when you come for brain integration, this is what's going to happen. You lay down on a massage table. It's usually very comfortable. You lay, no clothes are taken off, you're fully clothed. The practitioner will muscle test you. If you've been with Dr. Ann, you know that she presses on your arm to see if a supplement is correct for your system. So we use the muscle testing plus the meridian point to find out how the brain is working, because those things are mapped together. So you have inside the brain the two hemispheres, and when information doesn't go correctly, you get these common things that happen. Right-left switching means that you won't be able to process very easily. That means homework is very difficult. Doing any paperwork is difficult. Planning something in your life is difficult. Processing in general. People say, I just can't process the information. My friend told me this thing, my significant other told me this thing, and I just can't even put my mind around it. That's a common expression. Top bottom switching is another one that has common symptoms. That's the one where your thoughts go round and round and round. Everybody knows what I'm talking about because everybody has had it at some point. These are the people who go through every step of a decision and then suddenly they're at the top again. If you're on the phone with them, you talk them through a decision and suddenly they're at the beginning trying to rethink their way through it. That one will result in that. So it
Probably
seems
have
like,
some customers like that.
So it seems
I
like,
was just going to say that.
the way
I have one today.
it seems like the way my brain works is really individual to me, but the truth is, there are all these really common symptoms that are the same for everyone. The last way that these get switched is front to back, and what that means is that the person really looks at the past instead of the present. Sometimes it can mean that they look too far in the future, but ideally we should be in the here and now. So the brain integration practitioner fixes all three of those problems in the very first hour. Those are the first three corrections. So if you have any of those, you get relief right then in the first hour. Then we take a look at this limbic system here. It's the part that's shaded in with a diagonal line. The limbic system is what runs all your autonomic things, like your hair standing up on end, your blood pressure, how your pupils dilate, when and how you go to the bathroom, an ability to keep your bladder in control and not pee yourself. This is important for everybody who's aging. And millions of other things, including the emotions, rage, escape, meaning I want to flee, pleasure, fears, and punishment are all located in this limbic system. And literally I go in and I scrub that thing so clean. I just go through every portion of it and I make sure there's no stress. So you let go of your fears so that your pupils dilate correctly so you can take in information whether you're in school or not. That's really important.
So what that looks like for both of us, all three of us, is that we'll have people that come in with very significant fears and phobias. Young man, great kid, couldn't get on the bus, could not get on the bus, could not go to the movies. Just had some very significant issues around being around other people in enclosed areas. Within 4 sessions, he didn't have that anymore, was playing on an ultimate frisbee team. So very significant life change for him, right? So I think that it's kind of a little difficult to give testimony. You kind of have to feel whether or not you're hampered by that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, look.
I had a really interesting guy who he was afraid, he had fear of swimming because he was afraid of sharks. And he didn't think brain integration would help, but his aunt insisted that I work on him. And so I did. And we had a lovely time. I worked on him for about 2 hours. I got to know him a bit, but he insisted to me that it wouldn't work. And he didn't say I was wasting my time. He was very polite. Just a month later, I get a text from her, which is a picture of him in the water feeding a dolphin. And she says, apparently he's over this fear. And he still insisted that it didn't work. Isn't that interesting? But when you change in this way, yeah, exactly. Right. It was a dolphin, exactly. But you know what can be achieved by balancing the nervous system is remarkable, and it's not, you're not dependent on it. It happens a couple times, and then you have this new way of operating. That's how my brain is. I have a new brain. I didn't have this one before. Would you guys say the same about your brains?
Yeah, I think that I didn't realize, for instance, my taxes, even simple mathematics, I had a massive phobia on. I would just not balance my checkbook. Now I have 2 businesses. I do the taxes for both of them by myself. I love adding columns of numbers. Like I was so averse. I was so averse to that I just never was the one responsible for managing money. And now how dare you? Like, I'll just take care of that. And that was not my brain in the past. I would never have done that. Also for me, I have a little bit more tolerance around other people's issues and behaviors that were even remotely related to me. And I purposely wanted to work on that because I felt myself being in rage and intolerance more than I wanted to be. And so that was, for me, something that was clearly obvious in my relationships with other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. Does anybody have any questions so far?
What was that?
No?
Mm-hmm.
So after we clean the 3 different ways the brain can be switched, and we clean the limbic system, then we go through and make sure that the eyes and the ears work correctly. If your eyes don't go on a page, you won't be able to have reading comprehension. That's what makes school difficult for a lot of kids. If your ears are oversensitive or they don't take in information, you're going to miss what the teacher says. As an adult, we are not really tested on these things all the time, so some adults think that they're great, even though you may know this person and you're like, man, every time I talk to you, you can't hear me. Are your ears blocked? But either way, this is what we do in a protocol, because what I want to do is clean that whole brain and then make it work as one piece, and I use marching to do that. So the right side is clean, and you can do all the big picture thinking. The left side is clean, and you can put all the details in, and the corpus callosum makes them talk at this incredible rate. That's how people get exponentially better with brain integration, and that's how it was done for me. After that, there should be a slide here where it shows that I'm going to drive that brain. I'm going to actually ask you to read for me. I'm going to actually ask you to do math for me. I'm going to balance you to the things that you need to do in your daily life so that no stress shows. All brain integration can do is take stress out of the brain. So I painstakingly go through and erase it. I erase the big parts of the stress first, so actually it's quite simple to do. It only takes a few hours. It only takes about 8 hours of treatment. It doesn't take years to go through these tiny wires because of the way it was set up. Biggest ones first, then smaller and smaller, until the person has this incredible amount of everything. Access to both sides.
And even though we do focus on children, and most adults aren't in continuing ed classes, even reading for enjoyment or reading for a specific job or plan, I would find myself, and many people that I know, reading one paragraph after another, after another, after another, not necessarily getting the comprehension, and that,
Exactly.
But so for me, that was, and for some of the people that I work with that need to read or that want to read for enjoyment.
I don't think they have time.
Yeah. That's how I feel about people on Facebook. I don't get how they're on there 4 hours a day.
I don't either.
I don't.
Get it.
I must have bad time management because
Well, that's what I think.
I have a big
Also, I
life.
think I have a bad time management. I feel like I want to do more,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah, I understand
and
that.
managing the time is on that logic side.
Yep.
Knowing how much time there is and how much to allot for each item is on the logic side.
Then I think
So-
it gives me anxieties.
So here's the two problems together. Lack of access to that organizing part and a chemical underneath it. There's your day.
Then I end up sitting there like, okay, I can't get myself going.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Like I'm
chemical.
stalling.
chemical.
Pretty soon, I know.
Yeah.
Time's a wasting on life,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So when you balance those chemicals over and over and over, suddenly it's a sunny day almost every day. That's different. That's completely different for anybody who's witnessed any type of depression. To have it be a moderate or sunny day every day is quite a change. And that's why you see those testimonials that say that. So BIT is different than almost everything. And certainly nobody's, it's very hard to describe because it's really new. People don't really talk about this much. But here's a few ways it's different. We don't have any medications. None. We do no exercises. That means I'm not going to send you home and make you do this every day for an hour. So there are a lot of other brain systems, specifically for kids and learning, where you have to really practice it every night or repeatedly go in for these sessions. That doesn't happen here. There's no changes to the learning style. So if you don't read, but you learn best by doing it yourself, that's the way you stay. And if you learn best by reading or by watching or by listening to a lecture, that's the way you stay. So that part doesn't change. But you gain access to the parts that weren't working before. So that's how it's different. You gain access to that. And it's not ongoing. The most really is about 15 hours. I said it was about 8 earlier.
Right.
15 would be like a very intense case. PTSD can be a little bit longer, more like 25 to 30, depending on if it's very bad. Like I worked on people who had been injured in the Boston Marathon bombing. Those were a little bit more extensive cases, but still not that much. Any
You
questions
travel to
about that?
Florida?
Sorry? Could I go to Florida? Yeah. I
No.
wish that I could.
Yeah.
I am
Well, the
working
reason I
hard.
said that because I'm here until November 16th.
Oh, okay. Well, we have 3 practitioners in the office, so we have multiple practitioners, so you can see people quicker.
We're in Florida.
What's that?
We're in Florida.
Foot by the beach.
Yeah, I'm going to Fort Myers like twice this winter to work on clients.
So she travels to work to Florida, so she would be the person to get the card from.
Bye. Good night.
Cool. So the only other thing I want to talk about is nutrition, because nutrition is important. Specifically, there's a thing that can stop brain integration, and it's called candida. Have you heard about it? Have you ever heard about candida?
I've heard the word, I don't know what it is.
The word. Have you heard about candida ever, this thing? It's
No.
a fungus. So if Dr. Ann tests you and says you have something fungal going on, she might be talking about candida. It's like a mushroom. It grows inside of your intestine. It can overgrow and get right on top of your brain. If you can imagine how a mushroom is, or a fungus in your house, how it makes it musty, kind of stops everything from going, that's how your body and your brain become. A lot of people have this issue, but it's easy to take care of if you take a probiotic and eat foods that don't feed it. So avoiding sugar, avoiding bread, avoiding high fructose corn syrup. It's really easy to
Those are
maintain.
things to avoid.
Yes. Candida
Especially
is
early on in your treatment,
Okay.
right? It's not
Candida-
that you can never have them again.
Yeah.
But you want to try and do it in moderation, and you'll also be tested for the number of days or weeks that it's suggested that you really focus on that.
So usually you avoid those things that feed it for a really short amount of time, like about 2 weeks. And then after that, your brain is rid of this overgrowth, and it can really shine. The brain integration can really shine. Some of the things that candida causes are foggy brain and a lack of concentration, like we were talking about earlier. So if you feel like you have a lack of concentration, it could be a fungus problem. Mood swings, anxiety, and depression. Those are there. Headaches, itchy skin, gas, and poor digestion. This gas, when you have gas, what it indicates is that your intestine is not digesting the food you put in, and that is likely off-gassing from candida. Asthma, allergies, that's where my allergies came from, was candida. I had this really badly, and that's why I had such bad allergies. Cravings for sugar and bread. So brain integration is miraculous, but you need to put in those 2 weeks. If you do that, you get so much out of brain integration, you don't need to come back. It's just awesome. That's why people really, really recommend this, and they rave about it. Does anybody have any questions about that? Foods?
So they give you a diet? Is that how you do it?
No, it's literally just that you avoid alcohol, sugar, and bread. We have it listed up.
Alcohol, sugar, and bread.
No,
right.
all your
Well,
favorites.
that's my diet.
All your favorites.
But now you can see that it is most likely your diet that is causing the anxiety.
Well,
But
it's
it wasn't when I was 14. That's what I'm saying. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to, I understand. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe you have a multiple issue problem here. You mean that when you were 14, that's when your chemicals were changed, but you were eating something different?
I don't know. I mean, my diet's different than it is. I'm sure that it was even 5 years ago.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I try to eat healthy. I try to exercise. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I do eat bread, but I try to eat a good whole, wheat or something like that. Or,
Yep. And do you take a probiotic
probiotic here. Yeah.
from here? Okay.
Yeah.
So most likely you're right in that middle phase where you're getting rid of it anyway. So most likely
But I
you're-
do eat bread. Like I had
Yeah.
English muffins.
I love bread. I love. And when I first had this done, I thought, oh no, I'm gonna have to stay on this diet for like a year because I've always loved bread and sugar as well. But I was glad to know, for me, that it was only 6 weeks that I had to avoid the amount that I was eating in the past.
Okay.
And for me, I was relieved because that was a staple of my diet was both sugar and bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I try to eat bananas and strawberries and blueberries without anything.
So when you come in for brain integration, the practitioner will test you and see if you have this overgrowth. If you don't, then you don't need to avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
But they can still reset your chemicals so your anxiety goes away.
Wow.
Tell me about probiotics.
Probiotics are awesome. So in your intestine, you have a bunch of bugs. And probiotics are more bugs to put in there because most of them have been killed out over a course of antibiotics and sugary diet. That's why this happened.
She means good bugs.
Yeah, they're good bugs. They digest your food. They keep you healthy. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So probiotics are these live, living strains that proliferate in your gut and digest all your food and keep you healthy. So that's why people are talking about probiotics all the time now, because in America we have this rampant increase of all the diseases that are caused by the breakdown of the intestine. That includes cancer. That includes leaky gut. Almost everything I can say here after this point is caused by an imbalance of the gut flora. So the way you fix it is you put in a probiotic. Probiotics can have multiple strains and multiple amounts. So you're looking for quite a few strains, like up to 12 different types of bugs, and a high number of CFUs. That's what it says on the bottle. It means colony forming unit. That means each of those little bugs grows a whole village. And so it's a little
proliferate.
Very appealing.
Yeah, right. Go on.
Just increase those bugs.
But the truth is, in the intestine, that's where some of the other chemicals are being made, like serotonin, that makes you feel satisfied. Right? So who doesn't know anybody with these issues? I feel unsatisfied with life. I can't sleep at night and I have anxiety. Those things all go together because of the gut.
And I have difficulty losing weight. I have eczema or psoriasis. I'm itchy. I have rashes.
Yeah.
All that stuff. You'd never know that it could be related to fungus in your gut.
Yeah. Did that answer your question, or do you have other questions about probiotics?
Do they have an effect on people with depression issues?
All the time. So when the gut flora is out of balance, the first two symptoms are anxiety and depression. So if a client calls me on the phone and says, Nancy, I can't make it to your office, I don't have the money to afford your service, immediately I say, get on a probiotic. It will help you a lot. You can never overdose on a probiotic. More the merrier. Take it multiple times in a day on an empty stomach. If you have to take an antibiotic because of any infection, because sometimes we need antibiotics as much as they hurt us, you're going to take that probiotic in between the doses of the antibiotic. And that way you can really have your gut flora be balanced.
And the gummy probiotics are not the greatest.
Do we have a question there?
I learned the hard way.
The question online from Aurea Barada is, can I give my 5-year-old daughter inulin before doing brain integration? Inulin is a fiber, I think?
Yes, that's not a problem at all. You can, in fact, kids and adults come in on their meds all the time. It's not a problem. Even if you have a pacemaker, any other dietary supplement, it's fine. I wouldn't feed them sugar before they come in, but sometimes that does happen, but everything else is fine. Jake, did you have a question?
No.
Mm-hmm. So what other questions are there?
Memory issues.
Oh, I like this one. I have a lot of people with memory issues. So people come to me and they say, Nancy, I have a memory issue. You know, I keep forgetting what I was going upstairs to get. That's a real common
Do you ever find
complaint.
yourself in a room going, what the heck? Like, why am I in this room? So that's short-term memory.
No, my issue is I'll ask my daughter a question and she says, Mom, we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
Did?
Yeah, I think.
And then she'll start telling me again and I remember the whole thing.
Oh.
But
So it's the
I
immediate
just-
recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people are worried about their memory these days with the uptick in Alzheimer's.
It could be other things that are crashing around in there. There could be other levels of something that's stressful, that's pushing other things to the back. Sometimes that happens.
So memory is a complex thing, but when you understand the brain, it's pretty easy to tell what's going on. And the first thing you want to identify is what's going on. So there's short-term there's immediate memory, and then short-term memory, and then long-term memory. The thing that runs how well those memories get transferred into a package is a thing called the hippocampus. It's at the back of the brain. It's a gland. So when I'm balancing those glands, automatically the memory gets better. After that, when I start cleaning the wires, it's almost like it went in. Sometimes when we're learning or talking to someone, they talk at us, but it doesn't go in. After brain integration, it goes in. And that's how students can get rid of their learning difficulties as well. So when we're talking about a memory issue, we really want to talk about the whole client, everything that's going on with them, but straighten out these wires right away so that we can actually see what's going on. I never really met anybody whose memory didn't improve with brain integration. I have worked on some clients with Alzheimer's. At a late stage, there's not much you can do. That's really the only thing I can't touch, really honestly. Every other diagnosis or complaint or symptom, I can pretty much get to. But when it comes to memory, there's all these fun ways to attack it. Like, are you better memorizing when things come in through your ears or your eyes? If one or the other, I'll fix the other one. Can I remember this particular thing? Do I have stress around the words? Am I stressed in my environment? Is my brain foggy from the candida? If your brain's foggy from the candida, you're not actually taking something in, and then you'll never recall it correctly. So a lot of times it's an intake problem, specifically if you have candida. And you already said you have depression and anxiety. So the truth is you can change all of that at once. You probably get a fairly major change in the first hour.
That would
Okay.
be nice.
So when she says scrubbing all the wires, there's all different steps, and one of them involves the hippocampus, and there's several balances in the protocol that deal directly with the hippocampus for all different types of memory and different balances for things that help the processing system for the hippocampus. And then we move on to another gland.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I have a problem. I'll run a business, and they'll be talking to me, and all of a sudden, 4 or 5 people come in, and I'll walk in another room, and I'm like, okay, what did I come in here for?
Yeah.
So I walk back out. As soon as I walk back in the room, I remember.
Yeah, it gets
Then I
triggered.
walk back and do what I have to do, and you know. But if someone talks to me, because I'm too employed, they'll talk to me, and all of a sudden I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, where was I? Walk back to the room. And things like, but you know, I realize that's because this is just nutty, you know.
Yeah, so the corpus callosum is what's transferring that information. If it's not working very quickly, you're dropping information. And when you come back into the room where you were, you get like a visual cue or an auditory cue. Like, oh, Mom's there. She told me to get something. It's my sweater. I better get it. It happens a ton to kids.
Okay.
You know, parents will notice that if they give the kid 5 things to do, the kid gets up to the room and doesn't remember any. So sometimes they develop a system where they only tell him to do 1 thing. But you can imagine as the kid grows up into high school, he's got to do 10 things for 8 classes a day. So all of that is shattered.
Or when you run your own business.
Yeah, or
That's
when you run
usually
Yep,
what you're
okay.
up to.
Yep, all right, well.
Any other questions online?
Not right now. Hi to Lori. She's here watching.
Hey, Lori. Do you all have any other questions or specifics about someone that you're concerned about?
So again,
Any specifics about somebody you're concerned about or how brain integration can help a certain type of person?
I'm really here for anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said,
And a lot of people talk about anxiety these days. They estimate that 1 of 4 people on the train here in Boston is on a medicine for anxiety.
I'm sure.
So the question is, how did this happen to our society? Why do we all have anxiety? And the answer can be found in the use of antibiotics and a sugary diet. When you have those things together, the chemicals are upset, anxiety and depression immediately happen. So when we clean up the diet just a little bit and straighten those wires, really people get so much relief that they become a little bit hooked on how great it is. You know, they know that I'm going to change the brain right away. So I'm sad that we have all these anxiety issues going on, but this is why it's happening. This is why it's really happening. What other questions are there? Believe it or not, brain integration is easy to learn. It took me about 1 year because after I had it done on my brain, finally I could learn. Whereas before I got F's in school, I literally got F's, mostly
No.
in reading. Actually, I couldn't read at all.
No, I did. You know, it's funny. It's like French. I took French for 4 years. Failed all 4 years.
Yeah.
The only reason I took it because my parents knew the teacher. They thought I could read. You know, right? So today I can
Yeah,
say
so I got
5
these-
words.
Yeah, so I got these F's. I was only good really at math and music. I became a musician. I played the saxophone.
Still play?
Yeah, I do.
Excellent.
I do. But I couldn't do the reading part. It made me tired. I got F's in all those classes. I was tired in class. I couldn't read for an exam. No one showed me how to study. That was just a disaster.
Yeah.
And then I went to college to play saxophone. All you gotta do is read music, be on stage every night, toot the horn, everything's okay, right? And then I was in 2 car accidents in an hour, and I wasn't able to play saxophone anymore.
That's good.
And a woman who was doing brain integration did this on me. And very suddenly, I had this brain where I could read and remember what I read. And then I started asking, how can I use this tool to help other people? And I became certified to do it. So it's pretty cool to be your own success story, actually, now that just came out of my mouth.
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, I think everybody who's had brain integration has a similar, very personal story. Do you guys want to add anything?
I think that we all came from this from a different angle, but ultimately had the same aspirations that we wanted. I had been a massage therapist for 25 years and wanted something that was more long-term. People came to me for all kinds of reasons, not just because of their muscles ache, but a lot of stress and anxiety was part of their issue, and I would have to see them every week for that to be alleviated. And with brain integration, it is easier than massage therapy and much more lasting. So,
I've had massages every 3 weeks for the last 25 years.
I think it's real healthy. I wouldn't back away
I
from
want
it.
to be you.
Not-
Can
not at all.
I be you? Oh.
It's brilliant, and it helps the neurotransmitters to release
Yes.
the dopamine and serotonin that she's talking about. And if you can do that with massage and on your own, right?
Wow.
Then you're happy in between
Be a whole lot
sessions.
cheaper.
Yeah, that as well. That
Liz,
too.
did you want to add anything about your story?
I came to brain integration because I heard all sorts of stuff about it, and I was like, that's too good to be true. But then I had a really good friend in a desperate situation. She had double concussion, and I just saw the amount of suffering she was in. She could barely leave the house. And so I decided...
Anxiety and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I went to Nancy to be like, what's this all about, and to try it out. And then loved it and decided immediately to become a practitioner. Like after the second session, I was like, this is too good to be true. Because it really, just like first session, I felt like was such a huge shift in myself. And I just noticed I teach yoga, I'm a Reiki master, I do shamanic journey work, I do a lot of stuff, and this was so powerful. And I'd been looking for something holistic to address my own anxiety, and I wanted something natural, to address my own kind of mental health.
You feel as
and-
though, I mean, coming from me, I'm not really trying to change my life. I'm trying to change me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't change. I mean, it makes it easier to be you, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change anything about how you like to do things. I mean,
I want to do
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I fear.
Yeah, it
I have a fear, but I also I'll have a really good day, and I'll be up or whatever, and all of a sudden I sink right to the bottom,
Yeah. So
and my whole system sinks, and I
So there's
feel
a
it.
really good chance that we can eradicate that.
yeah, that can be balanced by a practitioner. We can't change the
I always
personality.
say that I'm a happy, sad person.
I love that. That's good. If you
I
have
had-
to be anything, be a
I
happy
saw
person.
someone for like 20 minutes the other day. I was doing like a fundraiser, and so I was doing like boom, 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 fast sessions. This woman came in like just tears in her eyes, really rough, like 6 months of roughness in her life. Said, you know, I've been waiting for something like this. 20 minutes in, she said, like, what did you do to me? It's like magic. I just corrected the switching, which is that, like, you're here and then all of a sudden, boom, you're down. She was top bottom switching, meaning like emotions were just kind of like a roller coaster. She was like, was that magic? I'm like, no, it's advanced kinesiology.
It's science.
Well, yeah,
Looks like magic.
Like, I would love to. I'm praying this will help, and
Yeah.
I'm doing through it and doing the whole thing.
You
Very
can't
good.
lose anything.
No.
It's really helpful.
Yeah, and like I said, it is easy to learn. So if you're a type of person or a mom who wants to help your kids, you can do that. It's not hard to learn. You learn very easy techniques. They're pretty simple to learn, and then you start to make a permanent change in the brain, and suddenly you can help literally everyone around you. I think that's what makes my heart beat a little bit. Like, this is great. If you can help someone you know, and you can help someone, provided you want to, and you can help someone you want, you know, wow, how we could be done with anxiety. We could be done with
Awesome.
anxiety. That's great. So Corey and I are both in the office multiple times. Corey's on Sundays and Mondays. I'm in the office Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Liz is in the office by appointment. We all have our own websites.
So I probably will see you on Sunday.
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
2 quick comments.
Yeah.
Celine Land said, I truly wish you were closer.
Oh, Celine from Canada. Hi, Celine. So
Oh.
nice to see you.
Um,
One day we'll have more practitioners in your area. But I love you. I mean,
Really?
my
And-
best is beautiful.
Aurea has another question. Does
Not.
brain integration help with
It's fine with me.
overactive adrenal glands?
Yes, without a
Very
doubt. The
well.
gland, we already talked about before. The adrenal glands are kind of like
Geez,
your
I don't-
alternator in your body.
It's okay. They
So
call me and tell me
they,
anyway.
they
I'm
recharge
just
when you
curious.
sleep,
It's fine.
and then you can use them. And
it's 10 o'clock.
when I
Yeah,
balance
I'm
the
here all day on
glandular
Sunday.
system, I'm balancing those as well, so that the adrenal glands
So-
can recharge when you sleep, and then
Same
you can use them
technology,
correctly,
same-
Exactly.
so that you don't get
Exactly.
burnt out. That's how we do that.
That's one good thing in this office that it's
Yep.
Any other questions that you
absolutely
have?
consistent.
What does it cost? To
Oh,
go
what does it cost
through
is
this
excellent.
Training.
The
What-
training.
no, to have you
To have it
do
done,
the-
yeah. It's usually $125 an hour. People will come according to their budget, so
Yeah.
if they'll come even once a month.
Yeah.
We're happy to work with people. I work with people extensively. I'm always on the phone with suggestions that are more cost effective, like getting
So-
a probiotic and helping that to work.
What is the
but
first
it's
session, and
125
how
an hour.
long, and whatever?
It can be an hour.
And do you
It
guys
can be an
have
hour or
business
two.
cards?
Yes, we do. Everybody's
It's
got
at least
business
an
cards
hour.
here, so
Okay,
there should be a
yeah.
couple in here.
And it's also going to depend on
We're gonna say goodbye to
what on the
Facebook.
bookings
Thanks
they
everybody
have
for
for
tuning
Sunday.
in. Share my
So
video
if you
and like
prefer
it.
two, you can do two, or
Yes.
one
Well,
is
what do you,
great.
honestly,